Oh, these science questions just never stop coming, do they? Wait, math. Rewind that. Math questions just never stop coming. Here we have a trig question. If the sine of an angle equals 4/7, and we know for a fact that the angle is in quadrant number 2, what are the values of the other 5 trig functions? Well, what we're not going to do is actually figure out the value of the angle itself. What you might be tempted to do if you know a little bit about trig is get the value of theta by maybe applying an inverse sine to it, and then try to find the trig values for all those other things. I'm going to say that's no good. First of all, it's going to give you horrible decimals. It's going to use your calculator when this is supposed to be done by hand. And also, it doesn't make you understand. You should be trying to draw pictures of this and make yourself understand what's going on. So let's put an angle with a sine of 4/7 in quadrant number 2. First of all, you need to know your definitions of these trig functions in terms of no longer opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. Those were good and they work when you use them, but you got to know how to apply them for the new definitions. The new ones are that sine of theta will be y/r, cosine of theta is x/r, tangent of theta is, I'm going to write two things for this, y/x, or if it's more convenient, you can do sine over cosine, because after all, y/r divided by x/r, the r's go away, and you do end up with y/x. So you can think of it as y/x or sine over cosine. And then there's also the co-functions. Cosecant of theta is 1 over sine of theta, which we can think of as r/y. Secant of theta is 1 over cosine of theta. We can think of that as r/x. And then finally, cotangent of theta is equal to 1 over tangent of theta, which in terms of this x, y, r business, we can think of as x/y, which of course is the flipped version of that. Okay, but what do x, y, and r actually mean? What do they actually mean? In order to figure that out, we've got to draw a picture of this angle. Here it is in quadrant number 2. A set of axes. And then I'm going to draw something where the y is 4 and the r, that means the distance from the origin. The distance from the origin is 7. So I want a relatively small vertical compared to a relatively long distance from the origin. That means in order to look convincing, it should be something like this. So here, my theta is right here, and I will label the things that I know. I know that this length is 4, and I also know that this length is 7. So far, this shows us a picture of an angle whose sine is 4/7. Well, you'll notice that there's missing information here. We know the y of this, and we also know the r, but we don't know the x yet. But you can see what's going to come here. You can see what we're going to do to find it. We're definitely going to do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now, sometimes you get a problem where the square root ends up being nice, and ends up being manageable, it has an answer. It is not going to be one of those problems. So we're going to get 4 squared plus b squared equals 7 squared. That becomes 16 plus b squared equals 49. Subtract 49 from both sides. And b squared is going to be 33. So b equals the square root of 33. Over on this side right here, I'm just going to quickly check to see if that can simplify. 33 splits into 3 times 11, right? Well, neither one of those is a square, and they're both already prime numbers. So 33 cannot simplify as a square root, and I've just got to use root 33 as the length of the final side. Now here, you can make a stylistic choice. I'm not about telling people what to do. I want you to do what works for you. But to be totally clear, I'm going to actually label this as negative square root of 33. The reason I'm going to do that is that this thing extends to the left, okay? It has a negative x coordinate. If we were writing the coordinates of this point right here, what we'd be saying is that its x comma y coordinate was going to be negative square root of 33 comma 4. So with the intention of being as clear as possible about this, I'm going to write the minus sign in front of the square root of 33. Okay, now that we've got all of these, honestly, finding the trig values, it's going to be a total walk in the park. So the sine, we already know, that was 4 over 7, duh. X over r. Well, now we know the x is negative square root of 33. I should really label this as x, just to be clear. Okay, so this is going to be the x of negative square root 33 divided by the r of 7. Not so bad, right? The y over the x, that's next for tangent. I could do sine over cosine, but I've got the x, the y, and the r right in front of me, so I'll use the y over x definition. The y over x is going to give me 4 over negative square root of 33. Remember, it is rude to have a square root on the bottom of a fraction. So I'm going to do two things. I'm going to take the minus sign, bring it out to the front of the entire fraction, and then I'm also going to multiply by square root of 33 on the top and bottom. So the bottom turns into just square root of 33. So the bottom turns into 33. So this will be negative 4 square root of 33 over 33. So I'll clean this up so that I have some room to do the next ones, but I'll remember that. This is negative 4 square root of 33 over 33. Okay. What's next? Cosecant. This is r over y. I promise this one's going to be super easy because y over r was 4 over 7, right? Well, if you flip that upside down, you turn the sign into the cosecant. So r over y is going to be not 4 over 7, but 7 over 4. The secant, r over x, will be the r of 7 divided by the negative square root of 33. Well, you can see what's going to happen here. I'm going to multiply by root 33 on the top and bottom, which is fine. I can do it because root 33 over root 33 is 1. And now that turns the bottom into no longer a square root. And this brings the minus sign up to the top. Negative 7 square root of 33 over 33. Okay, just one more to go. I've got cotangent, which is, I can either do 1 over tangent, or I can do x over y. Because the x, y, and r are right in front of me, I'll do that one. So this is going to be the x of negative square root of 33 over the y of 4. And I've got all the trig values. It didn't even really take that long. The main thing is getting this picture. If you don't have a picture, this is going to be really, really hard. Now, just a brief word about why it matters that this was in quadrant number 2. See all these minus signs? Boom, 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 boom. If this angle was not in quadrant number 2, then those minus signs might not be there, because the minus signs are there because the x coordinate of this point is negative. You're in quadrant number 2, which means you are on the left-hand side of the y-axis. So when you're in a certain quadrant, you need to make sure the picture shows that. That's why I figure it can be really handy to put in the minus sign in the actual picture, just to guard you against making any possible errors. Hey, listen, guys, if you like this video and if you would like to work with me on your assignments, please give me a call at 617-966 3198. You can also visit my website at sntutoring.com. And we can set up an appointment either in person here in Needham or on Zoom from anywhere in the whole freaking world. Bye-bye.